Zondervan presents Hitler in the Crosshairs, a GI's story of courage and faith, by Maurice Possley and John Woodbridge. Read by Maurice Possley.
For those men and women who served and continue to serve both God and country in the armed forces. For W.J. Frericks, who served in harm's way in the South Pacific during World War II and returned home. For Harold J. Possley and his two brothers, Leroy H. Possley and Francis R. Possley, all of whom served during World War II and returned home. And in memory of their brother Maurice M. Possley, a ball turret gunner on a B-24, killed in action in the Pacific on September 1, 1944. The foxhole rifleman, the epitome of the fighting soldier, comprises only a few % of the total forces, but he has endured the heat and cold, and mud and dust, and the almost intolerable fatigue and strain. His flesh, his spirit, and his nerve have had to accept and withstand hardships and dangers which literally defy description. He bore the great burden of the casualty cost, and he makes up the great part of the population of the silent cemeteries overseas. Where he was, there the battle was. He took the ground and held it. Most of the sweat and blood were his family shed most of the tears. We should never forget that our finest weapons are only as good as the heart of the man that uses them. June 26, 1954. General Charles L. Bolt, Vice Chief of Staff, U.S. Army. Author's Note: the events depicted in this book are based on a multitude of sources and are true to the best of our belief and knowledge. In some instances, narrative scenes and dialogue have been recreated based on interviews, letters, and other archival documents, and presented in a manner that we believe is faithful to the individuals and the events portrayed. John Woodbridge and Maurice Possley. Prologue. The past is always with us, even as it steadily slips away, becoming ever more silent in the shadows of our lives. And so it was on the night of December 22, 2005, as snow drifted down gently in the darkness, softening the edges of the handsome homes and glistening the broad yards on the outskirts of Lake Forest, a suburb north of Chicago. John Woodbridge, a history professor at nearby Trinity International University, walked into the family room of his house, turned on the television set, and sat down on the couch to watch the evening news. This is what he did most nights without consequence. On the screen, beneath the image of a newsreader, words scrolled, and Woodbridge was immediately riveted. This news ticker informed him that a gun believed to have once belonged to Adolf Hitler was being put up for auction by the owner of the Midwest Exchange pawn shop in downstate Bloomington. The gun was a model of craftsmanship, two 16-gauge shotgun barrels topped by a single 8mm rifle barrel, and most significantly, a stock that bore the initials A.H. It was said to have been taken from Hitler's secluded retreat in the Bavarian mountains, about 100 miles southeast of Munich, when it had been overrun by U.S. Army soldiers in the final bloody and chaotic days of World War II. As Woodbridge read the words scrolling across the screen, he was grabbed by a misty memory, and in his mind he saw himself as a 6-year-old in his home in Savannah, Georgia. He could hear the voice of his father say, "Come into my study," and there he watched as his father opened a drawer of his desk and withdrew from it a golden pistol. "This gun belonged to Adolf Hitler," said his father, Charles. The voices on the television faded as he concentrated, trying to add more detail to his memories. But the veil of time was nearly 60 years thick, and he could recall nothing more. He went into the kitchen, where he found his wife Susan, and told her what he was remembering. "How in the world did my father get that pistol?" he asked. "How did such a thing wind up in the home of a Presbyterian minister?" Susan opened her mouth to reply. Wait a second," Woodbridge said excitedly. "Teen Palm. I remember a man named Teen Palm. I think he was the one who gave it to my dad. Teen was a soldier in the war, a good friend of my father's."